Hello and welcome to Ageless Rock, a channel for megalithic fans with megalithic lens. Today, we are going to check out a megalithic site which seems like an impossible rock-cut tomb. You can find this amazing bedrock structure in Iran. It is called Necropolis of Naqsh-e Rustam. At the tip of this pin lies the starting point of a Persian empire that once existed approximately 2,500 years ago. It was founded by Cyrus the Great of the Achaemenid Empire. Zangiabad village sits humbly closest to this amazing archaeological site. This is the first Persian empire that spread from Balkan and Egypt in the west to Central Asia and Indus Valley in the east. Naqsh-e Rustam is a necropolis of the Achaemenid Empire because the rock-cut monuments on the cliff of bedrock is said to be tombs of great kings. Although it is called Rustam, it has nothing to do with the legendary Rustam, who is a mythical character in the ancient book called Shahnameh by Ferdowsi, who lived approximately 1000 years ago. The word Shah means king, and Nama is also the Malay word for name. The Malay translation of Shahnameh would be Nama Shah, which means kings' names. The Book of Kings is the better English translation. In the past, locals believed that the carvings depicted the legendary hero Rustam. It goes to show that the locals didn't know who carved these magnificent structures. In fact, there is no name for this place prior to being called Naqsh-e Rustam. Locals thought the murals depicted Rustam and subsequently calls it Naqsh-e Rustam, which simply means mural of Rustam. I am pretty sure there are many local myths and legends associated with these bedrock cliff carvings. There are 4 tombs in a cross design carved into the bedrock at this site. According to archaeologists, King Darius I was the first to be buried here based on inscriptions known as DNA, which stands for Darius Naqsh-e Rustam A, as found on the top left corner of the bas-relief, but it didn't specifically mention it is a tomb. The second tomb is believed to be for King Xerxes I. It is an assumption because there is no inscription on the monument. It is a copy of tomb number 1, which is for King Darius I, but with some minor difference. All 4 monuments have reliefs on the top depicting a man assumed to be the king on 3 steps platform facing the fire altar, worshipping Ahura Mazda, the omni-god of Zoroastrians. The third tomb is assumed to be for King Artaxerxes I. Archaeologists also cannot be certain of it because there is no inscription about its link to anyone. It has the same shape and design as the first and second tombs mentioned earlier. The fourth tomb is said to belong to King Darius II. The facade is the same as the other 3, and again, this tomb has no inscription. This is unacceptable to me because a colossal undertaking like this has no inscription about the reason who and why it was created. These so-called tombs are actually based on assumption, which is based on appearance. If there is a hole and it looks like a tomb, therefore it is a tomb. The recess in the shape of a cross is nicely done. It is obviously an undertaking very hard to do based on the enormous size. So it is extremely strange that they don't have any interest in carving inscriptions to be remembered as a tomb. These monuments will take a long time to carve out with ancient chisels. How did these kings over a period of about 100 years know that they are the awesome kings and no one else will accomplish what they achieve? What if there is a greater king with greater achievements? If the monuments were made after their death, their names would have been carved clearly so that everyone can remember them. Carving names is a million times easier than carving the monument, but yet they were oddly left out. The height of these monuments is impressively consistent. All four are identical in concept where there is a hole on the bottom part of the horizontal rectangle. It gives me an impression that these monuments were already there and were later interpreted as tombs. Since all bas-reliefs have one man on the right worshipping Ahura Mazda in the middle and a fire altar on the right, this is more like a temple than a tomb in ancient times. From far, these three tombs look like a portal of a megalithic culture that beams in and out of another dimension as what some would agree. The cross shape might have some reasons that made the portal to be functional. If everything was man-made and meant to be a tomb of four great kings, the last thing ancient Persians would forget is to inscribe the names of the kings. There are many carvings and inscriptions around this area, and the oldest relief is dated to approximately 1000 BC. That is 3000 years ago, which means Persians were here about 500 years before any tombs were here, or the tombs were already here but not claimed as tombs but rather as temples. It would be equally hard to believe that Persians forgot their own four great kings were buried here and needed the Europeans to piece the puzzles one piece at a time. The Europeans were here since the 17th century, and John Chardin wrote about this site as early as 1686 in his book entitled Journal of the Journey of the Chevalier Chardin in Persia. From the outside, it looks like something you can put a dead body inside, and so it is a tomb. This perception is based on assumption. We need to see what is inside. This is the tomb of Darius the First. There are three rectangular holes. If it was meant to be a tomb, then it looks like it was meant to bury three dead bodies. Why would that be the case? The interior has no inscription to link to anybody or anything. There is nothing known to us about what is inside. If there is a dead body buried for 1000 years, it would have been stained enough to know that there was an organic matter, and forensic scientists would have known something. At this point, we assume everything was stolen. Looks like the robbers even wiped clean the sarcophagus so that forensic expert would have no clue. Tomb of Xerxes is a niche where the ceiling and the wall is curved like an arch. It looks like a much narrower structure to bury a king. Again, this is merely an assumption as there is no inscription. It is absolutely strange that one of the four great kings has a tomb with nothing to mention it belongs to him. Artaxerxes I has a niche which looks somewhat like a niche of Xerxes I but has a little bit more pronounced triangular ceiling. It is a hole that looks somewhat like a rectangular hole all over megalithic sites that archaeologists would call it a tomb. Much to everyone's disappointment, we have to assume it belonged to a king even though there is nothing written anywhere. The inside of the tomb for Artaxerxes I looks like somewhat unique because you have to lift the dead body up to bury it. It is equally mind-boggling that so much work was done, but when it comes to actual burying a great king, it remains a mystery why it is architecturally made this way. This diagram is most likely that of Artaxerxes I. It is 14 feet deep into the bedrock. The entrance to the tomb is only 4 feet 6 inches high. The width is 53 feet. The width of the cave itself is 34 feet wide and 9 feet high. According to Robert Potter in his book Travels to Georgia, Persia, Armenia and Ancient Babylonia, published in 1821, that when he entered the tomb it was already blackened with soot. So I'm guessing a lot of burning must have taken place by the time he got there. He also noted that the lid of the tombs were not removed. The length of the sarcophagus is 8 feet 3 inches long by 5 feet wide. It has small broken areas big enough to see what is inside and confirm there was nothing. Inside the tomb of King Darius II is just like any megalithic structure which barely can be explained why it was designed this way. The arch design and complete lacking in inscription make me wonder why it was done in such a way that we have to assume it is a tomb of a great king. In other parts of this area, we have many other niches which archaeologists call it tombs. Anything carved into the bedrock is instinctively a tomb. That is a human instinct and that is clearly displayed around the world. Other example is the tombs at Toraja in Sulawesi Island of Indonesia. What are the odds that Torajans and Persians were carving bedrock as soon as chisels were invented? The civilization who lived in this vicinity were clearly masters of reshaping bedrock. It was noted by John Baptist Tavernier in his book entitled Travels Through Turkey and Persia, published in 1678. He said, quote, "In the space of the mountains are great numbers of niches that are opposite to the pillars and were certainly the places where ancient Persians put their idols." Unquote. This sounds like a European who saw this as a place of worship rather than a necropolis. The four great tombs would have been temples because there is a depiction of a priest worshipping Ahura Mazda in front of the fire altar on all four monuments. There are niches everywhere that cannot be explained why they even existed. If every hole is a tomb, then this tomb is definitely for a lonely person with an open mind. I am not sure what archaeologists have to say about this odd rectangular box in the middle of nowhere somewhere here at this site. If this is a sarcophagus, then this guy must be a short and fat guy. The tomb of a cross shape is more like portals than tombs. If it is a portal, then such stone box is more likely related to energy than dead body. This odd boulder was nicely shaped into a useless stairs in the middle of nowhere. We have no story for now, but archaeologists call this a shrine. Megalithic sites with mysterious stairs out of a boulder is common. There is one in Portugal and plenty in Machu Picchu. Depending on what it feels like, some are sacrificial altar while some are completely clueless. How about a possible stone wheel on top of a boulder? Could this be an unfinished object like rice stone or money stone of Palau Island or stone doors of underground city of Derinkuyu? There is another sidetrack as food for thought for you to think about. The three-level recess design at the entrance is something that might be a megalithic culture design for a purpose we will never know. You can find that in other places such as Elephant Cave and Ellora Cave in India. There are many other examples around the world with such design, and I think there is a function to this design rather than just to make it look nicer. I think we have to pause for a bit and wonder if cross design at Lalibela has anything to do with religion. These two archaeological sites is approximately 2,450 kilometers apart, has something in common. Lalibela lacks carvings of Jesus or biblical characters, while Naqsh-e Rustam lacks inscriptions expected of a tomb. So the next time you visit this site, be aware that this fantastic fall of Achaemenid dynasty is only assumed to be buried here at Naqsh-e Rustam. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this short presentation on the fantastic fall of Naqsh-e Rustam. See you in the next video and have a wonderful day. This is Berniong signing out. Khoda Hafez.